Hello, this is Group 90, consisting of Victor, Anne, Russell, Casey, and I'm Brian. This is our data science project covering the relationship between academic performance and drug use in a regional context. Specifically, we're looking at areas in the state of California. Our main question we wanted to answer was, how does drug usage affect academic performance in California schools? We mainly want to examine the use of stimulants and prescription drugs that students use to focus and study, such as Adderall. We want to see if there's a positive correlation here, or in other words, does the use of drugs boost grades and GPA, or does it have a negative impact? Continuing on this, here's some of the research and studies we looked at. First, we wanted to look at amphetamine abuse among teens to get a good understanding of the effects of these drugs and how much of a concern they really are. We found that amphetamine abuse is a significant concern in the state of California, especially Southern California, due to the high methamphetamine production that increases risk of experimentation and addiction. Then we wanted to look at stimulant misuse among college students. This allows us to examine the motivations and demographics of these non-prescription users and gives us a better understanding of what causes stimulant misuse and the effects of using these drugs. Then we wanted to examine the academic impact that using these drugs has. We want to know whether there's a positive or negative academic impact and whether college users of these drugs are getting a leg up on abstainers. Finally, a big resource in examining academic results is California State University's Data Center. That allows us to get insight on enrollment trends, graduation rates, and student demographics. After some research and partially based off of our own experience as college students, we came up with the hypothesis that areas with higher rates of Adderall abuse will have a higher average academic record. The idea behind this is that the use of Adderall may aid students in their studies and boost academic performance regardless of the negative health effects. In order to analyze and test our hypothesis, we have to find relevant data sets to use. Our first data set is graduates by ethnicity in school. This data set is useful in determining how well an area is doing academically, which then we can compare against the use of stimulants in that area. Our second data set is very similar. It's just the undergraduate, graduate degrees of CSUs, and we can compare that again to the use of stimulants in the area. And our final data set is licensed residential facilities and drug programs. This allows us to see how much drug use is in an area or how many programs are in an area, and we can compare that to academic performance in that area.
For the first analysis, we first graphed the number of CSU universities versus the number of drug programs grouped by nearby zip codes. So we notice a significant disparity where the analysis reveals stark differences in the number of drug programs near various CSU universities, with some areas exhibiting notably higher densities of substance abuse support services than others. We also found some regional variability where the findings underscore regional variability in the availability of drug programs surrounding CSU campuses, and this suggests a potential localized factor influencing substance abuse patterns among students. The next analysis, we graph the number of CSU graduates versus drug programs resident capacity, and from this, we can see a clear positive correlation between the CSU graduates and the resident capacity. This suggests a potential link between higher education attainment and the demand for substance abuse treatment services in these areas. The last analysis, we graphed the academic performance versus the number of drug programs, and comparing these graphs, we see a positive correlation observed. These hint a possible relationship between academic success and the demand for substance abuse treatment services in these areas. Now, on to the conclusions and findings. We noticed that some have higher densities of substance abuse support systems than other areas, which leads to regional variability where there are different substance abuse patterns in different regions. And there is also a clear positive correlation between CSU graduates and resident capacity near drug programs, plus the drug programs nearby. So this means there's a higher educational success rate, which leads to having more drug programs nearby because of the demand for substance abuse treatments. This is the end of our presentation. Thanks for listening.